Right, good morning guys. Good morning, good afternoon even. Right, so today's stream I'm just picking up where we left off on the last one. I was sculpting Feena for the Crystal Collapse game. You can see her on screen at the moment in the right hand corner, and the model on the screen in the scene, as you can see, is the progress I made on the previous one. Okay, so I've done her leg wraps and skirt. I need to do a few feathers and a rope on the belt, rope sandals, and the head before we add the scarf / shawl or whatever you want to call it, and the staff. So I'm going to start today with the head. Let's get the head sculpted first. Just going to pull my reference image up. Where do I keep them? So I've got her in my on my screen now. Let's zoom in so I can get a proper view. Okay. So she's got like a little cat collar on. As well as a necklace that hangs down below the cloak, but we'll add that one later on. For now, straight into the face. Okay, so I'm just going to reshape the face a touch. So let's just make sure the face is the active tool. I'm just going to reshape this from my blank. So wider cheeks, pointier chin, and obviously this is very angular at the moment, so I'm just going to soften that right out. Let's bring the chin forwards so there's a bit more shape to her face. And bring the jaw out there. Smooth all of this out. Okay, so I'm just going to come in with my dynamic tessellation. I'm just going to build in some features. So we're going to go for the mouth about halfway through. Just going to mark in the top lip. What is going on here? Right, so for some reason, when you have Photoshop active, it's just a sketch I used earlier on while I was on a client chat. For some reason, while Photoshop is active, ZBrush loses all ability to deal with pressure sensitivity, which obviously is one of the key features of ZBrush. So to lose that, especially when you're using a pen tablet, is not great. So I'm just going to rough in the top lip. And give her a little overbite. Just going to use the Orbs Cracks brush then, just to refine the top edge of the lips. And for this one, we are actually sticking to the artwork and the pose. Previous ones, we've changed the pose up a little bit to make it a little bit more dynamic. The artwork, interestingly for these ones, the reason we've specifically requested the artist to provide us with fairly static poses. The reason being they're going to be on these beautiful art cards, which are like profile cards for the characters. I'm sure Max won't mind me sharing that, but let me just find one of them. So let's show you Lucifer as an example. So here we go. Here's Lucifer's character card. Still a little bit of development needed here because we're going to be adding the health tracker down the side instead of the token at the top here. And I believe, following a previous discussion, we're going to add movement onto the card as well, so there'll be a little boot icon with the movement value on it. But yes, basically this is the little window that we've got for the characters to stand in. It doesn't give us a lot of scope and room for, you know, big elaborate poses or any of that kind of stuff. We need to make sure the bulk of the model fits within this space. So yeah, they basically have to be, the pose has to be quite contained or quite closed. And obviously for the miniatures we want something, in a lot of cases, a little bit more dynamic that reflects the way the character is. For Feena, she's a healer, so the pose that she's actually in the artwork, that feels appropriate, so we're going to stick with that today. So today for this character. Okay, so lips are in. We've got some weird artifacting going on there, which we'll deal with later. So the eyebrows, I'm just going to raise the eyebrows up. We'll just broaden out the nose at the top and such, so we'll keep the nose tip as is. Now, if this was my character design, I think I would probably have made her facial features a little bit more feline. But we are sticking with a kind of an anime staple for this one, so we're not going to be doing that. We're going to keep her very, very human looking with the addition of the tail and the ears. Does she need ears? Do you know what? I need to send a message to Max, so I've just got to double check that. I was going to refer to the, I can't remember what they are called on Final Fantasy Online. Okay, so the catfolk on Final Fantasy Online, they do not have human ears, so I'm going to assume that the inclusion of human ears on this one is an error. Right, so we're going to leave the human ears off, we're just going to give them the cat ears. Okay, so right, the eyes on these characters, best way of doing eyes is to just gouge out the eye sockets into a rough shape, so where the eyelids would be, or whatever shape we want the eye to be. I'll take the eye out, remove a fair chunk of it, and then I'm going to drop a sphere for an eyeball, quite a big one. So again, anime manga aesthetic, we want to kind of, you know, make him look right by the character. Just going to drop that back so it's nice and reset, maybe not that far back, but it's about there, I think. Keep the eyeballs masked off, so I'm not going to affect them. And then we're going to just shape this part at the top of the eye, just up here. corner. We'll give her a lower eyelid, just a touch. Smoothing out there, and then we'll give her some kind of eyelashes. Boost my Orb Cracks brush, so it's got a thicker depth now. Give it some so I'm going to do the top of the eyelid from about 3/4, well, about a quarter of the way in. So 3/4 of the upper eyelid is going to be covered by the eyelash, and then for the bottom, it's going to come out and go about just about a third of the way in. Right, so I'm going to group polymesh and polygroup and dynamesh that, and that will keep the eyes separate to the right. So again, I just need to do the top of the eyelids. It's a bit intense at the moment, so let's just dial that back down. Give her a raised cheekbone, just ever so slightly. I want to do this nice and softly as well, so I don't want any sharp angles on it. Okay. And then I just need to just bring the tip of the nose in. This is not on the drawing, but I'm just going to give her a little bit of a, almost like a cat nose, just because it feels right. As opposed to just giving her the ear. Let's just make sure the tip of her nose feels like a cat's nose. So now it's going to come in and just shape up the eyelashes a touch. So this is just giving them that little bit of extra definition. we'll flick into smoothing around the joints. It's not a joint at all. The plane edges, just to help sharpen up the shape of the eyes. So you go onto the inside of the eyelids and just buff out the insides. And I just want to smooth this down just to remove that transition line there where I've carved it in. Okay. So now okay, the head seems way too big. It could be that could just be that the eyes are too big, if I'm honest. Let me just isolate the eyes from the rest of the model. Just going to zoom into them, and I'm going to just shrink them a touch. And then we'll just get the actual eye sockets. Okay, so a bit of reshaping to do here, just to make it a bit more like the artwork. So the eyes in the art, they're a little bit more angular than what I've done here. I've done quite soft, round eyes. So I just need to just have a few just transition changes, just to kind of get it looking right. Not harsh transitions, I still want to keep it smooth, keep the angles clean. Okay, so slight little bit of a raise out there. Now the bottom, there we go. I knew something wasn't right there. Got a weird kind of like indent in the bottom of the eyelid. It's making it look peculiar. I'm just going to hide the eyes. Just remove them from visibility. And just smooth out the bottom of the eyelids and the top, just over here. Whoops, where's it gone? Okay. Pagan, how you doing, mate? Sarah, if you're there, or are you on your Todd? No, this isn't. It's not one of Andy's miniatures. This one is. This is one of my crystal collapse ones. So this is Feena. So the image you can see in the bottom right corner. She's I don't really know how to describe her. Hi Sarah, how you doing? Hope you're keeping him in check. I haven't haven't seen you guys in absolutely ages now. I think we feel like we need a meet up and a catch up again soon. Yeah, so she's basically, we've got a number of different characters that we're doing for. Morning Walkie Sam, how are you doing? Yeah, these are the characters for Crystal Collapse, which is a game we're going to be bringing to Kickstarter in, I want to say about February time is our aim. So the game is, the game itself is a similar kind of style of gameplay to Final Fantasy Tactics and those kind of JRPG tactics games with like the square grid, move around, attack the enemies. Positioning is important, so you get behind the enemies for a stronger attack. Sides, flank attacks are a bit more beneficial but not perfect, and front on is like your worst possible attack option. And then we've got like loads and loads of different mechanics in there to do with like crystal harvesting, and we're using playing cards as a key feature for the game. So there's a poker card kind of theme running through, and it's quite a good game actually. After I think hopefully we'll have it at UK Games Expo this year. So if you guys fancy coming down, we'll do you a demo for it as well. Oops. No, it's all new, mate. It's all new. It's a chap called Max in Germany. I'm partnering up with him. So he ran the Nanolith Kickstarter recently. So I don't know if you saw Nanolith or not, but Nanolith is it's like a cyberpunk narrative board game kind of thing. They did about 200 grand on their Kickstarter. It went fairly well, to be fair. It's their first ever project. So yeah, they were basically taking Max's game writing ability and story writing ability and love and enthusiasm for JRPG games, like myself, and partnering up to do this basically. So yeah, it'll be it'll be a nice little game set, because what I said to Max, I said one of the things I want to make sure is that Jacob will be able to play it. So Jacob learned to play Zombicide really fast. Like we did 2 of the demo missions, and he was just well in there. You know what I mean? He just got on with it, and he just played it like a champion. Then you know what I mean? He was teaching other people how to play, and he just got it. And I said to Max, I said, with Crystal Collapse, the main success criteria in terms of being able to play the game is to be able to pick it up quickly, I think. So we've said that we want to make sure that the core rules of the game can be learned over like 1 or 2 small tutorial sessions. You know, like just quick tutorial scenarios, and you'll have picked up the majority of the game. And then the rest of the stuff that we're adding in basically allows you to take it to a level of like strategy and tactical planning and whatever, that's going to allow it to be played as like a tournament type game. So at some point in the future, what we'd like to be doing with it is to be taking it to like Essen, UK Games Expo, places like that, and doing like a tournament game. You know, you pay for entry, win prizes, all that kind of stuff, and I think it's doable. I think we could probably get the same level of competition into it as you would in like a Pokemon game tournament, or you know, Magic the Gathering or something like that. The strategy element is there to kind of achieve that. So yeah, big plans for it. It plays beautifully. We are doing some tweaks to the rules still. There's still a little bit of change and adaptation happening. but I think for the most part the core mechanics are set now. We know where we're going with them, so it's just a little bit of refinement, a bit of balancing, really. What are you guys playing lately anyway? You still on Minecraft, or you have you moved on to other stuff, or got any hobbying done, any models? Yeah man, definitely. Love to have you over again. What have you been up to hobby wise anyway, Adam? Anything anything interesting? I'm still waiting for the last Baron's War Kickstarter to drop so I can get my swag from Andy. Ah right, you got the you picked up the board game. Was it a Modifius one, the Elder Scrolls board game? Was that Modifius or? Have you played the game for you? Have you played the game for it? Is it a good game? Rich, how you doing, mate? Hope you guys keeping well. It's Friday. You got some hobby plans for the weekend? Ah, right, cool. Yeah, I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good, thanks. I've got a little bit of a groggy throat coming on, which is fantastic because, to be honest, I think I spent all day yesterday outside in the garden cutting a tree down, and it absolutely killed me. It's like it's knocked me for six. I'm aching today like you would not believe. Right, there we go. Yeah, I think a bit too much cold air in my lungs yesterday. It's not done me a world of good. But the tree's down, so it's all swings and roundabouts. Okay, so we've got a top done, we've got her necklace done, ish actually, I forgot to put a little gem in there. Don't fall victim to the getting sidetracked, mate. That's the thing that's going to stop you actually pushing it to marketing, making it a thing. You've got to make sure you've got it concise and you've got your focus on what you're doing. We keep doing it with Crystal Collapse, to be fair. Actually, we keep talking about like extra dimensions we can take it into, and Max gets very passionate and very excited about his like new ideas and stuff. And I want to do it all. You know what I mean? Everything we're talking about, I want to do. But what we said and we've agreed, in the spirit of actually achieving a Kickstarter date for February, we're going to focus on the core game, get the core game down, make sure all the models are made for it, get the artwork all done. You know, everything we need to do has got to be done around this like core central game, and then beyond that, once that game is like rolled out and ready to go, then we can push on and start doing expansion packs. We want to do like a, don't know, once or twice a year we'll add like a new expansion to the game. So the first bit will be setting like a crystal mine. So you'll have all of like the. Do you know what? Actually, let me just see if I've got. Let me see if Max has got my if I've got Max's image from the tabletop simulator game we ran. It's only now I realise how many photos Max sends me of different things. Let me just find it, something. No, actually, more recently sent a little video, so let me find that. This is just one of the models that's been put into. It's just a little showcase of one of the models in Tabletop Simulator. But you see, we've got like the mine board, the mine shaft board, which is what do you call it? Yeah, I know that's not allowed on Twitch, mate. Yeah, we got the mine shaft board. There'll be some like 3D tokens for like the scenery, so you can kind of climb up and down levels. So the idea of the game is you have a couple of different factors that come together for your modifiers. So you'll have your what do we call it now? So if you're on the same level as a character, then there's no bonuses or anything like that for being on the same level. If you're fighting uphill, you're on a negative. If you're fighting downhill, you're on a positive. So if you're one level higher than your opponent, you gain like one set of modifiers. If you're two levels higher, you gain two sets of modifiers. Then you've got like front attack, rear attack, side attack they all matter. So your optimal setup is where you would have rear attack from an elevated position, and that will give you a maximum kind of like damage return on your target. So yeah, we've got like different skills and things like that the characters have all got, but at the moment what we're trying to do is we're trying to tweak the characters' skills and abilities so that they play thematically to the story that they come from. So we've got like a background story for all these characters, and there's like they've all got personalities and things like that in the story. And what we've said is like the game's it's a narrative game. So there's a story, there's a campaign, like a story mode running through it, and we want to make sure that the characters personalities actually do show in the game. So the way they excuse me, the way they attack, the types of things that they do, all of that kind of stuff is is basically contributing towards kind of telling the story. So material for the minis. Okay, so we've got a couple of options. So Shop 3D for 3D printed minis in large volumes from the UK is option one. Cyocast is another option. Now there was that guy in Vietnam I spoke to previously who uses like a Cyocast machine the size of a small warehouse, and they can turn around huge quantities of injection molded plastic using the Cyocast techniques. Not a Cyocast machine, it's the same. It's older than Cyocast, but it's the same tech. So it's still like rubber molds that have been vulcanized and then are used as like injection molding sockets. So the technology is the same, it's just not called Cyocast. and they're based in Vietnam, and they worked out at something ridiculous, like I want to say it was like 8p a model or something like that. It was like really, really cheap. 3D printing through Shop 3D works out, I want to say it's an average of about £1.50 a mini or something like that as like raw material costs. Mate, the Vietnam guy, they're pros. They are. They used to do Titan Forge's models before Titan Forge went digital. So they've got some good experience, and to be fair, the stuff I've seen from them is not bad quality. Did I send you some actually? Did I send you some over? I've got it in my head. I may have packaged up a bundle of the Vietnamese samples and sent them on. But they came quickly anyway. Even with the shipping from Vietnam, they arrived really fast. Yeah, they might be them. I'm pretty sure they've moved on the tech a little bit now, and they've probably improved the materials a bit. But the overall, the products weren't too bad. Decent quality for what we're doing here. We're talking about 40mm miniatures as well. We're not doing 32 on this one. So all of these models, they'll be 40mm, so like Stormcast size. So you'll be able to paint them properly and get a little bit more detail into them, and they just look a little bit more impressive on the tabletop together then. So we've got that. The other option then is for ongoing sales. That we're scaling up our 3D printing here because we're literally just about to launch our website again. Or let's say launch it again. We're going to relaunch it as an actual web store. So trying to move away from my manufacturing a little bit. I want to be putting all of the production for like general day-to-day orders like in-house. So I'll probably be picking up a few more like Sonic Minis, maybe go for the Sonic Mini 8Ks or even some of the Anycubic D2s possibly for production stuff. Just to get stuff like nice and turn around nice and quick, but keep a nice sharp bit of detail in there. So print to order from our current collections and whatnot. I might hold a bit of stock. I'm not entirely sure yet. And then for the Crystal Collapse game, if people want like one mini here and there, I'll be able to kind of print off smaller quantities. But when we come to do like Kickstarters, they're going to have to produce en masse, so it's going to have to be Shop 3D or some kind of like overseas production facility, I think. So it's going to give us a heap of kind of like discussion and problems to overcome no matter what we do. So I'll keep you posted anyway. I'll let you know what we're looking at in terms of like cost and things, so you can kind of have that in your head when you push yours across the line as well. Okay, so this lovely lady's head, the nose is looking odd. I did try and make it a little bit more cat-like, but I think I've made the nostrils too wide. Let's just taper it all in. That's looking better already. So I'm just reshaping her face from the artwork a touch, just to give her more of a feline look. I don't want her to look like an actual, like a Khajiit or anything like that, so she's not supposed to look like that. But well, mate, I definitely wouldn't buy a Siocast machine. I think the thing with Siocast, if you end up investing in it, unless you're literally kicking out absolutely tons of models, it's not going to pay. You need to be selling huge volumes to even justify buying a machine. Your best bet early doors is to find someone who can contract the manufacturer too. So I think the Miniatures Manufacturers Network group on Facebook, I'm pretty sure you're in that one. There's a guy in there, I can't remember his name now, but he posts up occasionally. I know he was either looking to get a Siocast machine to offer it as a service, or he was he was providing the services already. So there are people out there who do it, and I think it's definitely going to be your best way to go. But I also know that you and Sarah in your bit, you need to be in a position where you can add value somewhere, and remove a portion of the costs and stuff. So if you're outsourcing every aspect of what you're doing, it's obviously going to become a very expensive game, and it's not going to be profitable for a long time. So if you want to try and make it more profitable for you, you need to kind of be offering one of the services. So the easy one for you at the beginning, obviously, is to get on board with a bit of sculpting, do some like terrain pieces, as we spoke about in the past, something along those kind of lines, and then obviously the authoring aspect. Obviously, you're writing content, so if you get that content published, that can bring you some money in. Obviously, if you go for like a publisher like Osprey, then you've got a nice little revenue stream there. Or if you self-publish, you've just got to kind of obviously fund that and figure that out. And that's all discussions we've been having as well with Crystal Collapse about how to kind of go with it. Yeah, get a compressor and resin caster and stuff is okay, but obviously you've still got issues with that because there's a life on the moulds. So you're gonna have to buy resin in bulk, silicon in bulk. So you've got a big cache. I'm going to get raided in a second. I've just heard Willow in the garden. I know she's going to come banging the door when it's coming. So I've lost my train of thought there because I'm dreading her kind of come tearing in there. Yeah. What was I saying now? It's gone. Chuck me up. Oh yeah, the resin. So the silicon moulds, they don't last indefinitely on the shelf. I think you can get platinum cure moulds which do last, but you use them for masters. But your production moulds, once you've used a production mould, once you've made it, it's going to start deteriorating naturally. So if you haven't used it in like 6 months worth of, if you haven't used it in 6 months, it's going to probably deteriorate to the point where it's not usable. You're going to have to remould it before you can start casting stuff again. So what you need to do is you have to make your model. You have to you have to make your mould and then cast it to death, and then you've got to hold stock somewhere. And either one of those two things is going to give you an issue. Shorter term, in the kind of scale of the business you're in, I would absolutely advise just stick with printers, mate. It's gonna cost you less money to buy a couple of like Sonic Mini 4Ks and print on demand until you outgrow your production capabilities, and then when you get to that kind of level, you've got some serious money coming in, and you know you can afford to upscale. And whether you kind of stick with the 3D printers or you want to go and get things cast and manufactured and stuff, you know, you've got the options there for you. But I've been doing some numbers again today, and like one model. So the resin from Frozen, the Aqua 4K resin, currently £45 a kilogram. So it's 4.5 pence per gram, and a standard. Well, let's say one of your models here, the Berserker. Well, I literally happen to have to hand in a really unfocused. There we go. There's Adam's Pagan Miniatures Berserker in blue. So he is 3 grams with a base. So what's that? 4.5. Was that 4 grams? I was saying 4 grams. Okay, so 3 grams with nice little plug there, mate. Yes, available at paganminiatures.co.uk. The 3 gram model, plus about 50%, so call that 4.5 grams worth of miniature, at 4.5 grams a model. So my calculation's awful, but 45. So add 40% for the add 40%. So it's those 3 grams, 19 pence, mate. 19 pence it's going to cost you to make that little dude. 3D printing, and that includes wastage for things like supports and things. So anything you want to charge on top of that then is profit, overheads, etc., etc. And I don't think, and bear in mind obviously with that, you've obviously got the cost of the printer, so you've got like a 350 quid printer, you've got consumables like the screen to be replaced, etc. Oh, he's 50 grams, God. I don't think I've got any of them in metal actually. Not to hand. Oh, I've got one in metal actually. Use the ones in my gaming box, but I don't know where that is at the moment. But yeah, the resin, the 3D printed resin is going to be your most economical means of production. So I'd definitely say, you know, go straight for that. I wouldn't even look at anything else until you outgrow your own production like capabilities. Let's give us some eyebrows. Okay, now we need to do cat ears on top of red. What is going on with that? That's really weird. Oh, it's the RGB going on. Let's see. No, it's not the RGB. Why is it doing that? Okay, let's just pull the ears up, taper them to a point. So her ears come out sideways. Kind of like that. Let's bring the bottoms down a bit more. Let's just regroup and redynamesh that. So that's just giving me a little bit more smoother geometry on the ears. I'm just going to put my dynamic tessellation on and just go over them again. That's going to bulk up the back of the ears just a touch. So I'm just going to put the get the ears to a point, give them a bit more shape, so a bit more catty rather than just triangles. And then we're going to put some of the fur in the ears. So I'm going to use a couple of brush strokes for this just to kind of give the indication. Like that. smooth that out, and I'm going to come in with the all cracks brush. Well, mate, luckily for you, I am now about to start putting on a tier on my Patreon, which is coaching and consulting. So basically, anybody who's going to be kind of learning a bit of ZBrush, give you a couple of hours a month of consultation time face to face, so you can kind of run by me sculpts, ask me questions, get me to look over your files, whatever it is you need. So they're going up in limited quantity to start with, but if it's something that's like high demand, I'll make more time for it. I'm not sure how well it's going to go, but we'll see. Who's at my door? Okay, so give us some fur on our ears just to give a bit of texture. So with these, I'm just trying to make sure that the strands don't overlap, and I'm starting at the bottom here, working up. So this is how I typically would do like a short hair effect. So make sure there's a little bit of a ridge, so it's got a little bit of height to it. Okay, now the only thing I've got here as an issue is that the ear here, inner ear bit needs to be further back. So I'm just going to mask off all of the outer ear so I don't accidentally affect it. Let's just bring that back in. Oops. Okay, let's just drag that out. Re-dynamesh. Okay, let's just re-establish the little fur I've just lost in that movement. Okay, right, I'm happy with that. I'm going to make the ears larger though, because I think they are on her. There we go. How many different ear files do you have, Ray? I don't, mate. I'm literally just sculpting these as I go. Sometimes I'll save things down. Sometimes I'll save things down as I go. So I will probably save her head as a basis for like any future ones of these I use in this game, and then I can customise it and tweak it and tailor it as I need to. But for the most part, I will probably end up sculpting things from scratch. I do use the template model. So I've got like the base meshes and stuff that I've built and tweaked and customised and used over the years. I've got those available. Oops. But they're always just a starting point. Do you know what I mean? And it's all about making an efficient workflow. So we want to make sure that we're not doing unnecessarily large volumes of work when you're trying to, crank out models. There's a lot of people you see like online when they go, I started with this sphere and I made this, and that's fine, and you kind of do need to be able to do that, because you can't really shortcut the learning aspects of things like anatomy and anything really. You need to know how to do everything the hard way or the proper way first before you can really legitimately make use of your shortcuts. Because if you shortcut things, all you're doing is cheating yourself. Because if you kind of you see it a lot. I've seen a few Kickstarters, and there's one recently that I've seen. I won't name it, but there's quite a lot of female models featured in this Kickstarter. So the problem you find with the way, well, for me it's evident anyway. I can see it a mile off. The person that sculpted them doesn't understand the anatomy very well, so they've clearly used a standard base mesh, sculpted on top of it, and built up all the clothes and everything else. What they haven't then done is factor in. There's the female models have got ab muscles showing, and then there's figures where they're turned. They've got a shoulder rotation going on, and if you, you can't do it, Adam, because you're but Sarah, if you do it, twist to the side and feel your stomach muscles and feel how they distort and how they change when you rotate your body round, and they're just not done right. There's a real artificial, weird wooden way about them. So when you're dealing with organic things like bodies, everything kind of moves in a very fluid fashion. So the way muscles distort into each other, and kind of the flow works in a certain way, and then you get these weird models where they clearly don't understand the anatomy and they haven't been able to compensate for it when the base mesh lets them down. So if they were just doing a standing model that is in a straight up position, they're fine, but the second they have to adjust the anatomy. Catman Jace, thank you for the follow. Yeah, as soon as they have to adjust the anatomy, they fall flat on the face, and it shows through in the end product then. And it's unfortunate, but this is what happens when you try and shortcut the learning part of the process. If you don't know the anatomy, you can't just cheat your way to the end and succeed. You've still got to learn it and still figure it out, and lots and lots of study really is the only way of doing that. But the minute you've got that down, I'm comfortable with it. The minute you've got it down, you can use your base mesh. You can rely on the pre-formed muscle groups as a guide, but you're still going to have to sculpt that and modify it and rework it in the final model once it's all posed up. So as she is at the moment, you see all the muscle groups in the back here, got muscles on the arm, around the stomach and everything else. All of these muscles are fine in this pose. They work in this pose. The second you move her and the second you start changing things, any of those visible muscles need to be compensated and reworked. And that's where you need to know what you're doing. But ears are easy, mate. I'll show you quickly. But if you're just doing a normal ear, let's just sculpt one here for the sake of argument. But if you just do a normal ear, you just get your shape in like that. Use the inverse of it to carve the inner of the ear out. And what I normally do is I'll do a C shape there, like a backwards C, and then another one that goes in deeper. And that's pretty much all I would do for an ear on a model. Just that. Yeah, mate, those artist books for anatomy are absolutely fine. They're great as a study guide. But I'll be honest, if it's things like hands, use your own hands. Look at your hand and see how it moves when you're holding different things. If you're looking at arms, you've got arms yourself. Do you know what I mean? Sarah's got arms. You can literally just look at each other and figure it out. You feel how your bicep changes when your arms at different lengths, and how different muscles kind of change. you can feel it and kind of like look at it in a mirror and stuff like that, and use yourself as like a reference for certain things. So there's easy ways of doing stuff, and then you can always just go online and just Google. There's plenty of anatomy resources online for artists where they've got loads of like photographs of like models in different poses. Like especially now, there's loads of them where they're doing like the action poses and stuff, and like more like fantasy type things. So you can use those as actual reference material. So yeah, no worries, mate. I say ears are much easier than you think, and what you got to remember as well. And I've said this loads of times on my streams. What you sculpt, when you see a lot of people sculpting, you look at like the big studios where they're hiring like video game artists or people who come from that background. These guys are producing renders. They're doing nice renders that look nice on screen. They're not necessarily making miniatures, and I'm making miniatures here. And I know that when I print this thing out, the ear that I just sculpted on the side of her face is absolutely more than enough to be able to kind of like throw an ink wash into and use the you might want to make Jabba the Hutt one day, mate. You know what I mean. But yeah, so you don't have to do perfect human anatomy in miniature. You need to do something that looks like human anatomy in miniature, and that's where there's a little bit of understanding of the medium is required, because you don't want to do something that just looks nice on screen. It's got to be printable, it's got to be paintable, and it's got to not fall apart when you play with it as well. They're critical, critical aspects of the process. Right, so her hair. Hair's always hard when you're doing an anime character, but as a model, because it doesn't always work as you want it to. So I'm gonna do. I want her hair to look quite choppy and layered. Well, mate, you know Elston. He's not the tallest of characters at the best of times, is he? But I think even his features would be a challenge in 32mm. Well, I know because I sculpted him, didn't I? He's in my Chilling War game. Chilling War games. He's in my Chilling Watchman set. So a few little strands going forwards. I'm going to carve a little bit away. We're going to come back down. I'm going to do this symmetrical to start with, and then we're going to break the symmetry. So she'll have all symmetrical hair at the beginning, and then I've got to come in and do some asymmetrical stranding and some resculpt bits. So let's polish that, put a bit of Dynamesh on it. There we go. I'm going to use the orbs cracks. This is where I'm going to turn my symmetry off. So I'm going to use orb cracks, bump up the intensity, keep the size around 32. So that's a pretty decent size actually for that. Okay, so I'm just going to get some stranding in, and these strands I'm doing here, they don't have to follow the ones I've just sculpted. They can deviate from that, and they're going to be inverted as well. So some of them will be raised, some of them will be recessed, and it's just going to help to create that choppy texture. And then afterwards I can lay on some extra stranding. So just cutting in at the ends here. So this is using the orb cracks brush. When I want the end of the strands, I'm just carving it away until I get that nice sharp point. So it gives me a nice hair strand to work with. And it'll give it a nice silhouette on the face. For now, mate, for now. Oops, cancel that. Okay, so here we go. So this is where we got the... Right, so with these ones now, with the bits where it's a bit more choppy at the back, I'm going to change the direction I'm going with the strands, but I also want to start low. So I'm starting at the bottom of the hair. I'll start at the bottom of the hair and then I can work up from there. And that way my layers they'll layer up properly. And then what I can do is I can use the snake hooks brush, and that'll help me get some extra volume and depth and stuff into it. I'll do the snake hooks right at the very end, so that won't be, I won't do that yet. So I want a little bit of waviness to her hair, a little bit of curling as well. So she's not going to have all straight hair. So you do some like S curves in there. There you go. So with hair, use symmetry when you're building up the form, and then turn symmetry off for a final pass, just so you can kind of create a less symmetrical. Because obviously symmetry isn't always a good thing. So I'm just going to create some. I say create, I'm just going to change the profile of some of these because everything's kind of like round and bouncing in at the moment, so I want some stuff to be kicking out, and the round bouncy look is not what I'm after. For the top layer it's fine, but for the lower layers I'll change it up. So now I'm going to use the snake hook brush with the dynamic tessellation on. And we're just going to pull a few little curls into the hair. Not too many, because you've got to remember all of these little curls are going to need supports. They don't want to be too fine and too thin. But they're just to give a little bit of an indication of some more choppiness and a bit less regularity. Go. A few more like that, and then I just need to add a little So this is the other thing as well. Sculpts like this, depending on how you do the hair, coming back to like the production side of things, certain production methods will not lend themselves well to certain details. So if you've got thin strands of hair, or you've got like little wispy bits, if the model's been designed for 3D printing, you can't necessarily just shoot it straight into a resin mould or a metal mould. So you've just got to factor in where it's how it was made and what it was made for. So say if you come to me for a model and you say I want it to be cast in metal, I'm going to sculpt it in a different way to if I'm doing it for STL files. And if you tell me it's for resin casting, again I'll sculpt it in a different way again, because there's allowances you've got to make, and tolerances you can get away with, and all that kind of good stuff. So you need to just know where they all are and what you're dealing with. But okay, I'm fairly happy with that. Let's just get that strand on the top of her head, because it feels important to the design. A couple of let's just push them back down again. I think I've come out a bit too far on the sides. There's a bit too much volume in the hair, so I'm just going to bring that back a touch. There we go. A lovely layered style there. Now let's just save that. Alright, so next I need to get onto the feet and do these toes that I'm not looking forward to. Okay, so best way of doing this at the moment. Just scroll down to the feet. Okay, so she's got I'm going to worry about her actual toes for the minute. I was going to worry about this rope a bit. Okay, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to mask off everything but I'm going to delete everything apart from the feet and legs. I'm going to cut these off here. Which is about the right height. Okay. And then I'm going to mask what am I doing? I'm going to inflate that. I'm going to move that down a touch. so next thing I'm going to do, just Dynamesh again. Around the base of the foot here where I've got this bit, I'm just going to run a smoothing tool. And this is like a rope texture around the bottom of the foot. So I'm just going to take a wideish clay build-up brush. Wider than that. There we go. And I'm just going to do all the way around the outside little diagonal strokes, trying to maintain the same angle all the way through. Okay, run the Dynamesh again and it's saved. So I'm gonna just no, I'm not at the moment. I need to add a strand across here. Let's go for 2 strands here. And then it's 1 strand going from here to, well, it's not 1 strand, is it? It's multiple. Okay, so these are my rope strands, or where the strands are going to be. Now, you probably see other people do this by actually using a rope brush, but I am actually sculpting these. I'm not gonna cheat it out with a brush. Okay, so now I just need to put the rope strands in over the top of this. And again, it's that curve being consistent that's important. Come on, auto save, go away. Sometimes you find your sculpt ropes like this and the angle ends up getting completely lost. You end up like sculpting straight lines on it, and if you ever catch that, if you're doing this and you catch yourself doing it, stop. Because it's easy enough to correct it, but if you've gone too far and committed to it, it's a real temptation to just walk away and leave it. Okay, next one. That's dynamish and smooth. There we go. Nice. Right, now I need to do the knot on the toes. So I don't even know how this should look. It is certainly a difficult one. That'll do. And then on the inside of the foot here, we're going to do the same again. And again, once we add the strands and we've got them in place, we can come back in then and then just add the rope texture to the outside. And then again on the toes. So and the last little bit is the little drop down strands here. Okay, right now I need to just carve out the toe part and the foot part. So I'm just going to remove here. And here again. It's always nice drawing like sculpting from somebody else's concept art as well, because you kind of get into a go-to type thing. Like rarely would I give a model sandals. More often than not, I'll give them like boots or something. So it's nice to have somebody design something that's a little bit different to what I normally work with, and it gets me in the habit of like challenging myself a bit more and keeping things interesting. who designed it. It was a chap called Alex. He's one of Max's concept artists that he used for Nanolith. Very adaptable artist actually, because he's actually done about 3 or 4 different styles of art for us on this. Because we originally started with an art style that was very similar to like Dragon Ball and Dragon's Quest. And then we changed it up and had a different style again, which was a little bit more, I want to say like 90s JRPGs. And then we've updated it again to this final version now, which is more like a modern JRPG, like modern anime type thing. Okay, so there we go. There's her sandals on her feet. The top of the ropes, I just need to bring them out of touch so that they sit outside of the bandages. Oh, Max has thrown me a curveball now. He wants both sets of ears on. Do you know what? I'm just going to send him a quick snip of her face. Okay, so back onto it now. Right, so our shoes are, our rope sandals are done. Go to the actual feet now. Let's sculpt some toes in. No, mate, I had Ty do some of that back. It was a long time ago he did that for me when we were doing the Kingdom of Talaria stuff. And it worked okay. Oh, Max is on stream as well. You alright, Max? Thankfully, Max now says he loves the face. There we go. Just so you can see her, Max. That's how she's looking at the moment. So I'm just about to sculpt her toes in. Then she needs a rope around her waist, and then we can start getting her stuff done and get her ready to rock. But yeah, Adam, I don't use Ty for doing posing now. So we tried it a couple of times with the Kingdom Talaria stuff in the early days, and basically from me sculpting a model in a T-pose, having to decimate it to a small enough level that he could then rig it and pose it, to doing the rigging and the posing and then sending it back to me and me having to do another sculpting pass on it, it added so much complexity and so many like layers to the sculpt. It just didn't make sense. It turned out to not be viable to do it. And I think that's possibly more to do with my sculpting style and the way I work than the way he was working. So, because I use a very sculpty style, I don't do like the poly modelling and the nice geometry and stuff. Trying to rig and animate really doesn't work very well, unless I add a load of like process layers on top of what I'm already doing, and then I might as well just pose it myself. So for the Kingdom of Talaria stuff, what I ended up doing was I ended up making like 4 or 5 leg poses for each, or 3 or 4 leg poses, say, for each each unit, mirroring them, or mirroring some of the details on them so that the poses were varied, and then doing the same with the upper body. So I'd do an upper body in a certain pose, and then I would pair off the upper bodies with the lower bodies, merge them all together, sculpting all the extra bits I needed to be doing, give them a unique head or a helmet or whatever, to differentiate them, and then that way I had quite a lot of pose models with a little bit less sculpting work across the board. But obviously, where you've got certain details that you want them to come across uniform, so like the if the belt ties round and then hangs down or something like that, you need to make sure that the hang down is on the same side. You've lost me there, Adam, mate. But yeah, so you want to make sure that certain details are asymmetric. If you're asymmetrical details on a uniformed unit, even when you're mirroring, you need to make sure that your asymmetric details are all in the same place to be uniform. So you can't just take a full King's Guard knight, for example, and flip him on the mirror axis, because they have like the big shoulder pad. The shoulder pad is on like the one shoulder every single time, their left shoulder. So if you flip the whole model, yes, you've got a unique pose, but you've also got a model that breaks rank in terms of like the way he's decked up. Obviously, it's less important if the models aren't uniform. Okay, so I need to do a toes. That was what I was doing. Right, so I'm just going to chop her legs off here. Okay, delete hidden. Now I can come and deal with the feet without the extra mesh showing through the bottom. So, one toe, two, three, four. I feel like I should be doing like little cat claws or something else. Yeah, and that's one of the other things as well. You got your shields on the wrong side, your weapons are on the wrong side. Like I say, from a point of view of like a shield wall or a kind of a military formation, it just completely doesn't work, does it? So there's nothing wrong with having models that are left-handed or whatever else, as long as they're not trying to be part of your like say your shield walls and stuff. So I always try and give enough variation in the sculpts that you don't need to worry about, you know, trying to do that. So I'm just trying to get some shape onto the toes at the moment. Okay. Yeah, she's back from school now. She's it was her birthday at the beginning of the week, so she's just turned 4, and honest to God, mate, the attitude from her you'd think she was a teenager already. And here she is knocking at my door. This is where I'm about to get raided now. She's not giving up. Oh, give me a second. Let me just mute the microphone a second. And she's sorted. Yeah, she's she's playing in the house now, but she's got to that point where I think Friday she gets the afternoon, she's just tired and grumpy, and she just wants a little bit of cosy time. And usually her cosy time consists of coming into my office and crashing on the sofa behind me with watching some garbage on YouTube. So usually something with voices that make me want to bang my head into the wall. Okay, so feet are done. Let's do this belt now. So I need to just adjust my reference image. Okay, something I hadn't noticed then. She appears to have like a potion or something on a belt. So right, append. Let's go for a potion bottle. Let's make it squarish rather than. I'll be tempted to go. He doesn't even use that name anymore. Pointy paints on Twitch, mate. That's what you want to look for. Pointy paints. Oops. Can't do that until I've changed the shape of the neck. Yeah, he's been back on the stream. He's actually tuned into quite a few of my streams, and it's been very pleasant actually. Let's do that. Right, let me just get the bottle as one group. bump up the resolution and polish it. I just want to kind of just go around, just smooth off the. Really should have symmetry on for this, but I need local symmetry. And I want X and Z. So it does front and back at the same time. So when I said I was going to put X and Z on, I totally forgot to put X and Z on. There we go. So let's just bolt the neck of the bottle out. Oops, that is not supposed to happen. Let's just plonk this on the side. Yeah, no worries, mate. I'll catch up with you later. You have fun cleaning, and I'll catch up with you soon, mate. Take it easy, and you, sir. Have fun, both of you. Okay, let's plonk that there. I'm gonna have to fill this little gap just here. Before this one's done, but for now I'm going to get my curved tubes. I didn't use the tubes before, I used the I just drew the rope, but for this bit now that I'm about to do, it's not going to work. So I'm going to go to stroke, I'm going to go to bend start, bend end, I want snap on, I want lock start, and I want lock end. And what that's going to do is basically make sure I can set where the thing begins, where it ends, and snap means it will cling to the surface. So I want this to go to here. I need to bring this forward then. So I want this one in here. Just going into the hole. Okay, and then the rope here. I'm just going to move the cursor so it picks up that little red line. I'm just going to draw a bit more of it going round. Bring it back out to the surface. Bring it into the surface. And then continue with my line extension. So let's right, so that's like wrapping round. There's like a wrap around the whole bottle, so I'm just going to tap away from that now. I'm just going to come round to the here. I'm just going to isolate this. I'm going to go from here around the front. bring it down the back. I don't need it all the way down, but I need enough that I can work with it. And then this is going to come down here. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to try something else on this one. Let's go for this. So you hold shift and drag the cursor out. Oops. Okay, so that adds one little wrap around there. I'm just going to do the same again this way. Oops, there we go. Auto group all of that. And I just want to pick that one. I'm going to use the move tool just to move it. Just bring it up above the surface. Okay, so there is my rope for the belt. So next thing to do then on the belt here, I'm going to make it look like rope. So I'm going to do the same rope texturing that I did on the shoes. It is a bit of an arduous process, so please bear with me on it. I'm just going to go around and just add all of that texturing in. First, I'm just going to pull this up a bit. I want that to like lap over the top and kind of become a knot. I'm just inflating the back of this rope here, just so I don't have to fill the gap in. The rope can do it for me. And same again. Now here I'm just going to move the cloth. I think I'll move the cloth to do that bit. So I'm just going to smooth over the rope. Okay, so first things first. Let's do is this blue or purple? Can't tell. Let's say purple. I'm just going to take the purple rope. I'm just going to go and add the rope texture all the way around. With this, what I can do is I can just do it from one side, and I'll have to roll it round and like follow it around. If you're doing a rope in 360, you need to kind of spiral it around, so it's got to go all the way around. It's got to be a consistent spiral. If you're not doing a rope that is entirely visible, you only have to worry about one side, and it's a little bit easier to plan. And again, it's only a very minor detail, so it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. and I'm not going to sculpt the sides I can't see because it's a waste of time. There you go, so that bit of the rope is the last visible piece. And it's important with these things as well that if you're doing one big long consistent length of rope, you make sure that the you know what the brush size is and that you retain that brush size. So in this case 43.7. 43 it'll be close enough, but if you don't maintain your brush size and you have to change for anything, when you come back in, you end up with inconsistencies, and sometimes those little inconsistencies can be quite eye-catching. Okay, now we're just doing the belt around the main part of the body. And again, keep the angle, maintain it. I haven't done it on this one. I don't think I will do it on this one. Sometimes what I do is, like, if the rope strands are looking a little bit too square, what you can do is leave a little bit of space between the rope strands when you're sculpting it, leave it to be square, and then use the inflate tool or the inflate slider, and then what will happen is the inflate slider will fluff up basically and puff up the whole rope. Right, so there we go. So we've got a little rope on it now. We've got the little flask in the rope too. So I think I've got what looks to me a little bit like, a little bit like feathers just on the back of her skirt, but I think it's actually like tears in the fabric. So I still need to come in here and just like rip the fabric up a touch more, just to make it look a little bit more, what's the word, feral maybe. We'll just use the snake hook brush for that. So the snake hook brush lets you pull a bit of, it's what I used for the hair earlier when I was doing those little strands. It lets you take a little piece of the mesh and just pull it, which is good if you want to kind of create like little hair curls, or I suppose snakes. It's the original use for it. Create a snake's body, pull the snake's body around. There you go, so I had a few more tatters. Ah, Laura, you're on. How are you doing? Thank you for joining me today. Hope you're keeping well. What have you been up to lately? I'm very good, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you join me on stream today. You doing any painting recently? Any hobbying, any crafting? I always look forward to it when I see your little crafting jobs that let's say Ty sometimes posts up where you've done like a little signs for him, or and your miniature paint is beautiful as well. I'm glad you said that. I know you were a bit burnt out off it before, weren't you, from the miniature painting? You were a bit overcommitted and stopped enjoying it a bit. Packing orders is a good thing. I'm about to be embarking on some of that myself. I've got Hayley going to be doing some of the like the retail side of the business. We're just about to start launching our new web store, so we'll be selling 3D prints of our own as well, and all the STL files directly. So we're just finishing up the store at the moment. I think we've got something like, I want to say it's like 230 STL files for sale, and something like 180, 190 resin minis in the store. So it's going to be a big one when it goes live, and I'm just hoping we're in a position where we can deal with it properly. I mean, going based on the number of sales I was getting a month through Only Games, I'm fairly confident I can. Oh, Snowyak's just joined, but I think he's joined through Discord. Is that a thing? Yeah, I'm down to 2 printers at the moment, and my plan is I'm just going to run it with that for the moment, and then if need be, as and when our requirements increase, I've got space for an extra 2. So I'll just chuck extra printers at it and try and maintain and keep it busy. But I think if we get to the point where we're selling the STL files and the resin files, and I've had to buy 2 more 3D printers, we're in a good position financially then, because that volume of output obviously equates to a nice bit of revenue. So fingers crossed, it'll be a good problem to have. And when the time comes, I'm happy to be employing people if I need to as well. So, but this, yeah, I bet he has. He uses his, is it the Elegoo? Is it the Saturn 2 or Saturn 3 or something like that he uses? Is it He was all about Frozen before, weren't he, in the Sonic Minis? And the last time I spoke to him, he said he never uses the Sonic Minis anymore. It's all about the Saturns, I think. I'm getting too technical for you there. Is it a red one? Got a red lid. Yeah, yellow lids are the Frozen. Well, I suppose it could be any cubic as well. The ones he's got with the yellow lid, they're the Frozen printers, and then he's got the red ones, which are the Saturns. But I'm not a big fan of the Elegoo prints. I don't like the build plate with being on like a spring-loaded ball joint. So I much prefer the solid build plate that you get in the Frozen printers and the Epax ones. But I suppose it's the cost of making them cheaper, isn't it? they sell the printers cheaper because they've cut corners by not having like auto leveling and things like that in there. And if you're willing to deal with that, that's fine. But I just want plug and play. I want to keep it as easy as I possibly can. I do. So this lovely lady you can see on screen is Feena. She's from a Crystal Collapse game. So she's going to be a 40mm miniature. Obviously you can see the artwork in the corner of the screen that I'm working to. Taking him off again. He's already injured himself on the PLA, has he? Tell him I've seen some good news, some good feedback about the Elegoo Neptune, which is a PLA printer. I don't know if it's any safer than any of the others, but oh god, I'm aching no end today because I spent yesterday cutting down a tree, like with a handsaw, and it's absolutely broken me today. What is he like, eh? I hope he's learned a lesson from that. Right, so I'm just going to add a little bit of texture to the inside of this robe. There we go. Just only a little bit, nothing mega. Yeah, it was killing. Do you know, I don't do things like that very often. And whilst I'm happy to do the job, I always feel like waves and waves and waves of regret for days afterwards, because like something like that, on the day I will just crack on and just keep going until the job's finished, and then like the next day it's going to hit me like a ton of bricks like it has today, and like I say, it's just major regret then. Oops. Oh god, what's happening now? Ah right, I see. Okay, so these bits now I'm just going to polish them. Dynamesh and polish with groups on, which will keep them as separate pieces and help smooth out some of this dodgy tessellation business. Yeah, exactly. If you're doing that kind of stuff all the time, it stops being an issue, isn't it? It's like when you go to the gym, the first couple of times you go, you just feel the pain for like days. And then obviously the more you go, the further you can push yourself before you start getting the same kind of like, you know, aching and pain, because you just adapt and get used to it. When I say for me, the main bulk of my exercise is like throwing our kids around and like, you know, picking them up and carrying them places, and you get used to a certain kind of physicality, and then something like cutting a tree down from standing on a ladder, that is just like, that's whole next level kind of, you know, manual handsaw all the time, you know, all that arm movement, like even just standing on a ladder, it just wears your legs out, it kills you. But like I say, I'm glad I don't do it every day, but I have got 2 more trees to do, so I'm going to suffer more before the end is through, before the garden's right. Right, so we've got a tatty thing here. We've got, right, she looks like she's got a huge ass here now, so I need to just deal with that. Let's just bring this in. Oh, it's because of the tail, that's what it is. Okay, I'm just going to take the tail, I'm just going to nudge the tail in, so you're not going to notice that bit there. Oops. Well, that's better. Let's look out of proportion now. So waist down she's finished, waist up she's pretty much done. I'm just going to get this necklace in. I'm not going to sculpt all of the necklace because we can't see all of the necklace, and as you've heard me say plenty of times, if you can't see it all, it's a waste of time sculpting it. So I'm just going to do enough that it gives you the impression that it's there. So I'm going to come down here, boost up my Z intensity. From the centre I'm going to go up. Just going to smooth that out. This one, actually, if you watch the last stream I did, it's from last stream to today. So today I started about lunchtime, about 12, so about 2 hours ago. And then the previous stream was maybe, I think it was like a 3-hour session of an evening, if I remember right. So it's probably about 5 hours on this one so far, I think. Okay, I'm going to use a sphere for the next bit, so I'm just going to do a mesh insert sphere, and then this sphere with the things are going to stretch upwards, and then I just need to isolate just the sphere, just so I can shape it. Yeah, I've got quite good at getting the timings down. And what I found actually is, as weird as it may sound, sculpting on stream, because there's like a commitment to it. I'm answerable to you guys whilst I'm sculpting. I'm not looking at emails. I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not doing anything else. I'm just sculpting the models. I find actually I'm more productive, and I get more done. So, you know, and I don't want to. Sometimes I'll try things when I'm on my own that will lead me down like a dodgy road and end up making a bit of a mistake. And obviously when I'm doing this online, there's again that little element of accountability means that I can't really just so let me just sort this out. Yeah, because I've got that level of accountability with you guys as well, I need to make sure that I'm showing you like properly, basically. So if I start doing stupid stuff that is going to take a long time and be fruitless, it's not good. It's not good viewing. And I want to show a model as like being completed rather than just going on a wild goose chase with it. So yeah, I've found it's been good for my productivity. And it could have gone the other way, you know what I mean? It could have been completely spend all my time chatting and not actually getting any work done. But I actually find I can kind of chat okay. I do get a little bit distracted sometimes, and I lose my train of thought, but you know, it's all good stuff. Yeah, do you know, if when you're painting next, Laura, you should try doing a live stream on it if you don't mind people watching your work. It's quite good for the motivation to be able to kind of have people talking to you about stuff and asking you questions, and you get a chance to kind of like, you know, to talk things through with somebody rather than just doing it all on your own. And it is quite good for that. Let's bring the rest of the clothes back, and let's duplicate that. And no, that didn't work. Let's just add the little sphere in. Yeah, you should. And I'll tell you what as well. What you should also do is, do you know Shoshi Bauer? It's like a female miniature painter. It's very good. So what she does is she does her live streams and she paints models. And I had to do some promotion for me a while back. And what I actually did was, or what she did rather, was she painted my models on her streams. So I paid her the commission fee, and then on top of the commission fee, I paid an extra. I want to say it was like £25 or something like that per stream. And she painted them across like 3 streams or something like that, with all of her followers. And I think with you having like Table Flip Foundry at your disposal, and all the followers that kind of will bring with it, I think it puts you in quite a nice position to be able to kind of say to people like myself and other miniature sculptors that you're available for commission work and you're happy to stream the painting to your community, and that's a form of promotion and publicity for the artists as well. Which means that if they're paying for the commission fee, if you turn around and say it's an extra $25 to have the for you to do it on stream and talk about it while you're sculpting and promote the company, you know, if you're talking, I say Table Flipper's got an audience of, well, the Discord channels at least, of like a few thousand, and then you're going to go and put it onto a TikTok video and things, which I know you do well on, all of those kind of things. You know, it's all it's all good promotional stuff that will benefit the miniature companies, and B, put a bit more cash in your pocket, and C, kind of give you automatic content, so you haven't got to worry about what you're doing. You know, you're doing like a sponsored post or a sponsored sculpt, sponsored paint job, and then all of that then comes with that extra little bit of, I want to say accountability, but that can make it sound like it's like forced, like you're forced to do it. So I know it's like one of the things, you've got to be in the zone, haven't you, to do any of this kind of stuff. But I find I can get in the zone better without the distractions by having you guys here to talk to, and knowing that I'm booked in, I'm scheduled, and I'm going to come and do these things. So hopefully it'll work out for you. And if you need any help, I know Ty's always there as well, but you can always hit me up if you need any help or advice or anything like that. I'll always do what I can to help you, Laura. And also AJ and Lucy as well, they're pretty much pros on the whole marketing thing as well. You know, they'll be great to get info from if you're needing help, especially if you want a female perspective on these things. Okay, so necklace is done, the legs are done, the loincloth's done. You're more than welcome. Staff next. Well, let's get this staff done. Okay, so the staff is like a big gnarly piece of wood with a hook on the top, so it's got like the crook top. I'm going to do it with I'll save my file first because I've worked for too long without saving. It's a recipe for disaster. So let's do a cylinder. Totally forgot what I was doing then. Okay, so cylinder is going to be on the model. This needs to be at least probably 1.2 millimeters, so it's quite a thin staff in her hand on the model. That is not going to work. Sorry, in her hand on the image. It's not going to work as a miniature. The staff's going to need to be fairly significantly chunkier. So I'm just going to do that first, and I'm just going to take the top. Let's dynamesh. Let's dynamesh it. Because I'm going to be sculpting over this anyway. I'm going to take the top bit here. I'm just going to tap in a few times, just soften the thing. I'm going to rotate and pull to the side. Then I'm just going to mask off a little bit more. Rotate it again. Pull it over. And lava, rinse, repeat until I've got the big crook shape at the top I want. And if it's not entirely perfect, that's fine, because I am going to be sculpting over it and smoothing it all down anyway. So let's do I need a Z symmetry on this one, I think. Yeah, Z symmetry. So Z symmetry is the front to back. So let's just come around here, just do all this business. Oops. Right, let's get this thing done here. Let's get some bumpy and irregularity in the stuff. As well as that, I'm going to turn the symmetry off now. I'm just going to pop a little bit on the side, so I don't want it to be. I do this a lot when I make these kind of things. And like, I always think, actually, if you were actually choosing a piece of wood for a staff, you wouldn't pick something that was all gnarly and mangled, would you? You'd pick something that was a bit straighter and a bit more, you know, a bit more of a sensible choice. So, looking at her staff in the image. It's quite twisty, and then about halfway up, about here, it's going to break out into vines. So there'll be a couple of separate kind of strands that are going to come and weave around, and then we've got some actual vines growing up it as well. So we're going to have to add some vines and some little leaves. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably make a small insert brush for the leaves, which will help me to just kind of like pop them on and get the stream going. Just yeah, to be fair, Laura, as well, the twisted and mangled staff look, it's more interesting, isn't it, when you're on a miniature? It's not realistic, but if you're gonna, it makes it look a little bit more don't know, arcane or something like that. If you've got that nice little bit of interest to it. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm winging this, by the way. I've got no like magic formula for this. This is just going by gut and feel. So what I'll do is I'm gonna rough some kind of like cording type texture, I suppose you would call it, just to give it a kind of a, I don't know, like a wooden, like a rooty type feel. I'm going to put this like cording thing in it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dynamesh the whole thing with like smoothing on. So I'm going to just get this little bit round here. Let's just do this bit round to the top. Just make the end here a little bit chunkier. Give it a little bit of shape. So there we go. So now I'm going to reduce the dynamesh count. I'm going to keep my polish on. I'm just going to polish the whole thing, and that will just help to. Actually, I need to reduce that more. So let's go for 190. There we go. So I'm quite happy with that. Let's just turn that off. So when I'm smoothing, I'm not changing the surface texture too much. I'm going to get my curved tube brush. I'm just going to add a few of these little bits like this. Go for a larger one now. Let's take it from there to there. Oh, no, that's wrong. Now these bits I can manually mash them in with the move brush. I'm not worrying too much about how they are or where they look. Where they are and how they look. Let's just do another little. Actually, no, we'll leave that there. I'll leave it like that. Move topological. So I'm just going to take the move brush. I'm just going to grab the bits I want. I'm just going to move them in. It's just bringing them back into the stuff. And the little green tip there, let's go that as well. Oh, let's bring that back in. Okay, now what I need to do is I'm just going to dynamesh all of this together. Remove the auto groups, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unify those things and bring them back in by doing the same twisty cording texture on them. Just inflate that bit at the base and at the top. Hey, no worries. No, thank you for joining us, Laura. Like I say, if you're planning on live streaming, make sure you shout about it for the Rooftops on the Table Flip group. I will be there. Come and join you and support you for a bit. Appreciate you showing up today. Very much appreciate it. Lovely chatting. Or talking at you at least. Jefferson, thanks for liking, mate. Hope you're watching it and enjoying. Okay, so we've got a gnarly wizard stuff kind of thing going on here. I'm going to just do my little insert brush now. So take a sphere. Let's poly group that because this is not a poly group, not a poly mesh, sorry. So I'm going to just take the top of this, stretch it up, very, very, very roughly turn this into a leaf. And I really do mean very, very roughly. This isn't elegant at all. It's a really, really, really rough leaf. This little bit of detail is absolutely unnecessary because I don't think they're going to be big enough for you to even spot it. But I'm going to put it in there anyway, just in case. I'm just going to give the leaf a little kick up on the one side at the tip, and that will do actually. Okay, so I'm going to just get it to this point now, frame it in the scene. I'm going to go light box. No, I'm not going to go light box. I'm going to go for the brush, sorry. Come on, I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm going to go create insert mesh. I'm going to create a new insert mesh, and you'll see it's now creating my leaf there. I am going to go and save this because I think I'll probably use that again. Although it only took me a second or two to do. It's just one less thing I have to do next time, isn't it? So let's add this to my details folder. Small leaf, call it. Okay. Right, so let's go back to my staff. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the curved tubes brush. I'm going to use a small size. And I'm going to run some vines around the outside of the staff. Okay. So this has got the same settings I had before on it for the rope. So it's got like snap and bend and lock start, lock end. Okay, it's got all of those things on. So I'm just going to keep drawing it out, wrapping it up. And what I'll do is I'll come into it at some point and I'll add some extra strands. Some just branches off this just to oops, there we go. Let's come back up here. Wow, let's go. Okay, so there we go. So we've got a little vine running all the way up now. Let's just wrap that around a bit more. I know this seems a weird thing to do, but I'm just doing that so I've got a little extra, something I can tap out on. You just need to sometimes. Now with these ones now, I'm just going to turn the taper on, so I'm just going to go to my curve modifier. I want the size to be smaller at the end, so it's like goes to a point, start large. Let's just reset that. Right, start large, shrink it down. I'm just going to bring the curve out this way, so it's just basically make sure it's mostly wide, and then it will slowly, gradually taper to a point. Okay, when I tap on that, you'll see what I mean. There you go, so that's what it's just created there. Okay, so that's one of my little branch offs. Let's put another one here. Just a few of these just to add to the design. And then I need to bring that out a touch because I've pulled it through the mesh. Yes, I'm just using the smoothing with the dynamic tessellation on just to help get the. I'm just going to merge the other stuff together. I'm going to do group and polish. Okay, and now I'm just going to bring these in, and where I've got like this kind of stuff going on, I'm just going to smooth it all in. Sculpting the connections and then merge them back together. Okay, right now I've got to get my new brush, my small leaf, and I can use my settings here. So I'm going to change my brush settings to go to depth, and I want the depth to be mostly embedded, so I'm going to bring it to the centre of the mesh falls below the line. And then what I should have now is that. Perfect. In fact, that is better than I could have hoped for. Yeah, that works fantastically well. So I'll draw loads of these in there now. And then what I'll do is I'll merge them into the vine. Use the move tools just to do some fine positioning. And with these, what you can do as well, you can hold shift down and it will snap to a certain size. So if you want the leaves to all be uniform size, which obviously in this case it's leaves, it doesn't really need to be because it's natural. Then what you can do is you can just hold shift as you draw the shape out, and it will just automatically snap to the size of your brush setting. the reason for making the leaf so thick, by the way, as well, is just to make sure that the when this is printed, there's no void behind the leaf. If you use like a ready-made leaf mesh, most of them are designed for creating 3D art, 2D art, using 3D assets, or for using like something that's going to be animated, and whether it being solid or not makes no difference whatsoever. So yeah, so make your own, make sure it's solid, and it's a good, oh god, it's a good it's a better investment in your time to make your own than it is to try and fix one that's not designed for it. Let's just chuck a few last leaves in. And then I need to wrap it up because I'm going to get raided again by a newly 4-year-old willow. But there's the staff anyway. I'm finished with the staff. I'm going to carry on with the sculpt offline, so I will be finishing it without you guys around. Just because I need to get it wrapped up, so I should be finished today. Like I say, it's more a case I just don't want to be trying to do this with Willow in the room with me, so I know she's going to want my attention. So there's Feena with her staff. So she needs posing up. Just going to stretch it up just a touch, so it's a bit taller. There we go. So there's Feena with her staff. Actually, no, that was wrong. Right the first time. So Feena with a magic staff for the Crystal Collapse game. She just needs the shawl added and posing, which will take me about another hour or so. And then I can post some updates and post some pictures. And yeah, in the meantime, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I'm going to clock off and drop out in a second. And ouch. Yeah, hopefully I should be back on, I want to say Monday, but I've got a feeling something is going on Monday now. But yeah, I'm gonna drop in with a few more regular streams. So I'm going to be making streaming a bit more of the Patreon type offering. So if anybody has any requests for models they want making, or they'd like to be added to my collection, then drop me a line, pop it in the suggestions on my Discord page. What we'll do is we'll take the suggestions, put them to patron polls. So if you sign up on the Patreon, you'll be able to vote in the polls, and obviously chip in your suggestions there as well. And you can basically then take the you'll be able to take the sculpts that we get every month, and have a say in shaping the future. Right then guys, I've got to clock off because I've got to go and get my little girl. Thank you again, and I shall see you all soon. Cheers guys.